I remember the moment, right? I was walking from like my bedroom into the kitchen and I was just like I just surrendered, right? The queen steps down.
How I see that is it became your identity and you were essentially trapped by these things that they call the golden handcuffs.
Positivity is a muscle, not a mood. What if we made this more like a team sport? You felt like you were part of something bigger and we were all working toward the same goals.
Do you ever feel like you are leading from a place that just isn't you? Perhaps trying to fit a mold or lead to someone else's expectations. Well, if you feel that way and you're ready to lead from a place of authenticity, you're in the right place. I'm your host, Josh Fisher, and this is Off Script, a leadership podcast for people who don't like leadership podcasts. So here we are. Let's go. Welcome to another episode of Off Script with Josh Fisher. Today's guest is a resilient fighter, mother, and powerhouse leader. She spent over 15 years in medical care, rising from a registered dietitian to a national leader, designing programs that impacted tens of thousands of lives. But behind that polished resume, she faced personal tragedy, burnout, anxiety, and the heavy weight of leadership. She didn't just survive, she transformed. And through that, she created Practice Your Positive and Team Positive, high energy frameworks that help leaders and teams reset, reconnect, and thrive under pressure. She brings energy, presence, and real world resilience to everything she does, proving that leadership is about showing up fully, even when the stakes are high. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Sara Schaefer, aka Sass. Welcome to Off Script.
Thank you, Josh. Boy,
how did that feel?
Good. I sound so impressive when you hear read like that. It gives me a whole pump up. I love it. Thank you.
Good. It was actually something I thought about before I recorded my last episode with a buddy of mine, and I was laying in bed and I was tossing and turning, and I was like, man, what? 'Cause we always think about like, man, if I had like a walkout song, like what would that walkout song? Like every time I walked in somewhere, like what is that?
Yeah.
Like imagine if we all just felt like we were so special. We got this introduction every time we walked somewhere, and I really want to bring this into the show. It's like I just want to do just a fun, powerful introduction and just put a smile on your face, and it looks like that's what happened. So tell me how you felt through that.
It feels good. It feels good. It sometimes still feels surreal to hear your story reflected back to you.
Yeah.
It sounds more glamorous than it was living through it. But, it's all true. So, we'll get into all of that. Yeah.
Yeah, we will. And, I can definitely relate to that. I recorded one with my buddy on his podcast, and he read off the litany, basically like all the accolades that I've achieved in my life. And I was like, okay, that's interesting. I don't really identify as any of those. Those were kind of things that I just dabbled in. But he said one title, and that's why I made it very important to put this in yours as well. He said dad. And that was the only accomplishment. That was the only accomplishment that I got what he calls truth bumps from. Goosebumps, right? And that was the only one that made me a little emotional and a little choked up. So I felt it was very important to put mother in there, because your personal story, you and I connected through stories from the stages. You emailed me.
Yeah.
And that thing sat in the junk folder for over a month, and your persistence and your resiliency reached back out, and I felt so bad. And you shared your story with me, and that's why I wanted to bring you on the show. And I really want to dive into that story about, just about who you are and how you got where you are. But I really start out every episode with, I want to know your perspective or your thought when you hear the word off script.
Off script. So when I think of off script, and I have to be honest, that was part of the allure, right, of this show. I think that's where, when I think of off script, I think about moving beyond the rote performance based leadership, even life. Let's be honest, right? Like, there is a certain script for life. I say this, how are you? I'm doing okay. I'm living the dream. Traffic was terrible. We kind of go through these motions through life. And I find the juiciest parts of my life and the best conversations I have and the moments I truly remember are the ones where I wasn't just following that script, right? Where I wasn't just doing the same old thing. And we were having a conversation. I was in the moment. There was presence. I didn't worry about how I looked or how I sounded. We really were just connecting. And so that's really when I saw off script. I was like, oh yes, this is going to be juicy. And that's where I like to hang out nowadays.
Yeah. I hope
Yeah.
it's juicy. I hope it's juicy because let's face it, juicy attracts. That's why I like Desperate Housewives or Real Housewives. It's a pretty successful franchise
Yeah.
because it's juicy. It's real.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say something that I probably shouldn't say on this. So I watch a lot of YouTube and selling channels. One of the guys' channels that I watch, he used to be on Below Deck, and I don't like those shows,
Okay.
but I started watching Below Deck last night to the point my girlfriend was like, I was like, I can't believe I'm watching. She was like, yeah, me either. And then it was bad because it's that juiciness that it's like watching the train wreck, Sarah, or Sass. I'm gonna call you Sass.
Yeah.
It's about watching that train wreck. But
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
prior to go ahead. Yeah, yeah.
no, but saying that's where we have to take these stories that aren't just the drama and the negativity. Like, how can you make these resiliency, this positivity? How can we make this stuff just as juicy? So you don't have to tune into a train wreck. You can tune into someone's comeback and have that be
Yeah.
just as exciting, just as enticing as Below Deck, which Josh, that sounds awful, by the way. Sounds awful.
I'll take the judgment. It's okay. I don't know if I'm going to commit, but he was on. The only reason why I started watching it because he was on one of those seasons, and I was like, "Oh, I'm curious to see," because he's a chief engineer. So I was like, "I
Okay.
want to," but apparently the season that I'm watching is not the season he's on, so I need to figure my life out. That's all I'm saying.
Wow. Now you got 5 more seasons to binge.
I think it's like I don't even know how many, but it's a lot. And but yeah, raw, juicy, real, and that's
Yeah.
why we're here.
Yes. Hang in the saddle for those moments.
That's right. Who are
Mhm.
you? Tell me who you are.
Oh, girl,
Like,
we're starting
and I don't want superficial. I want to
superficial.
know. I want to know
Um,
sass. Even
Sass.
Sarah. You said you went by Sarah
Yeah,
E for the longest time,
yeah, I
and you're
do.
back to Sass, right?
I've always kind of had aliases. And I think I use that as one way to, how I present myself to the world. And so yeah, so most of my professional life was Sarah Eve, SES on everything. I always use my initials and it was in truth, right? It was a way to distance people. It was a way to create a professionalism and a distance and an elevation, right? There are many Sarahs, but there was one Sarah Eve and I am she. And it was a distancing and a professionalism. I always felt like people, you know, who I am now is more like I was when I was 17, and everything in the middle was what everyone else wanted me to be, what I thought they wanted me to be, who I thought. And it's a 17-year-old Sass, but with a little more common sense, a little better impulse control, right? Like
A little, you said a little.
she's grown up, yeah. And so I think that's one of the most beautiful parts of my transformation these past few years is, I always liked me. I always liked Sass, the Sasser. Like I always liked who I was. But just from the way I grew up and the relationships I chose, I never thought that anyone else would really like the real me, right? The goofball, the messy girl, the loud girl, this, right? Like I never really thought that anybody would like that. And so I spent most of my life trying to not be that. I dressed very flamboyantly and colorfully. And, when I was younger, I went to all navy and olive drab. I, cut my hair short. I really tried to fit in and I was miserable. So now I'm back to Sass. And you know what? It's really people respond to it, right? Like people respond to me. And so I don't feel the need to hide anymore. So I
Because
can be that
it's
loud,
real.
somewhat messy, a little extra. It feels good though. It feels good.
People respond to it because it's juicy, right?
Yeah.
It's real. It's vibrant. It's you. It's not,
Yeah.
in the mold, in the script, right? So tell me about your years leading up to sort of that transition into, I guess I
Mm.
have to wear olive drab and grays, right? So you said
Yeah.
17 before. Tell me about
Yeah.
young Sass. Tell me about who you are back then. Tell me how you grew up.
Yeah. Yeah, so, I was raised by late boomers, so I'm gonna do the disclaimer here. They're good people. I love them. They did a great job, but, the no one really unpacked the trauma, right? The trauma was just kind of passed down. And so I grew up in a really small town, which I loved because I walked to school, I played in the creek. I had a very like wholesome childhood in that way, growing up in a small town. But never really felt that kind of unconditional acceptance from my folks that I really wanted, right? I never really felt like they actually liked me. And I'm sure they do. They just have different ways of expressing it. Um, yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah.
their love language was like probably acts of service
Yeah, yeah, and criticism, what
and
else can we say
criticism.
there, right? And, fix your face and look better and get better grades. Yeah, and I had an older brother, and so I did feel I'm a little sister, which is also part of my sasserness. I have an older brother who is very accomplished and intelligent and just a remarkable human being. And so I did always feel a little bit growing up in his shadow, right? He was the smart one, he was the accomplished one. I was the pretty one, I was the nice one. I wasn't the smart one. I wasn't the big thinker. And when you're a kid, you just kind of believe those things where you make your own assumptions. And I really never kind of questioned them. And I lived most of my life based on the assumptions I made as a kiddo. And then, right, looking for that acceptance, that love, that peace in everyone and everything else. And that was really the bulk of my adult years, really until a few years ago, was just looking for somebody to love me, accept me, let me be me. Meanwhile, I was never really me. I never really shared the real me with anybody. So I don't know how anybody would have loved or accepted me because I always kind of hid myself. So I was in that
Yeah.
kind of like sticky conundrum there of like, I want people to love me, but I'm not me. So, just spinning my wheels for 20 years.
Right, right. So
Yeah.
what was the impetus to kind of going into the career path that you went into, and how did those sort of underlying emotions, maybe consciously or consciously, propel you into that professional dynamic?
Yeah, so I started in undergrad. My first undergrad degree was in psychology. Do you know the joke about psych majors?
I'm a psych major, and I'm gonna say the joke is the only reason why I chose psychology is to figure myself out. But I don't know what you're
That
saying.
that's 100% the joke, and it's funny because it's true.
It's so true.
Um, yeah, so I was a psych major, and I wanted to be a therapist, probably again to figure myself out, or to fix everybody else around me so I could be happy, one or the other. And yeah, so I went into
Yeah,
psych.
or
Yeah.
to like put your attention on somebody else so you didn't have to focus on yourself.
Oh.
Right? If I can help somebody else, that means I don't have to help myself.
Oh.
Right?
Yeah, I didn't really see that ever though. I felt like I was being super helpful to the world. Looking back on it, I don't know. Yeah, so I got a psych degree and I worked. I'm an intense person. I do everything kind of intensely. So I worked in a locked psychiatric unit on the adolescence floor for
Mm,
5 years, and all the kiddos were 13 to 18. I was like 23,
no.
22. I was 22 to 27, so I was just a kid myself. Yes.
You haven't figured life out yet, and you're trying to help these younger folks figure themselves out.
Oh, I know. You look back on it and you're like, how did they put a bunch of 20-year-olds in charge of a bunch of teenagers? There was like one old dude who kept like all of us in line, honestly. But yeah, I did that and I thought, well, this is it. I'm going to help other people. And I, it took me maybe like 2 years to get good at it. And then by the time I got good at it, I like quickly burned out. I just couldn't do it. I couldn't let go of the stories. I certainly
Mm,
didn't have my own internal sense of fulfillment, control, serenity, any of that. And I certainly couldn't handle, hearing teenagers who had, right? I mean, the stories, I still think of some of the stories of the kids that, I work with these teenagers. Um, and so I was like, I just can't do this, right? Like, this is not sustainable. Um, so I went from psych to nutrition. So I've always been kind of a wellness girly, a fitness and nutrition person. So I was like, peace out. I am not doing psych. I can't handle that. But I still want to change other people.
right, yeah. So
Right.
you still stayed in the service aspects
Yeah.
instead of,
Yeah. I
like,
still,
the mental, you went physical.
yes, physical, correct. I still want to fix other people and tell them what to do. And yes. But, jokingly, I loved it. It was nutrition, so I got a BS in nutrition, and I got my RD internship, and, really thought that was it. I didn't It's funny when I think back on it, I didn't have big career visions or goals or plans for myself really kinda ever. It was always just like, get a good job, maybe get the next job, get a pay bump. I don't know. Enjoy my weekends, work 60 years, retire. I mean, I didn't have an open enough mind to be able to even envision a bigger purpose for my life or goals or dreams. I was really just, kind of slogging through the day to day. Um, yeah. And then I was an intern for a dietetic internship. You have to take like internship for like 10 months before you can sit for your national boards. It's pretty rigorous for for a low ROI career. I'll say it that way. Um, and I was at my first outpatient dialysis rotation, and it's a funny story, right? I've told the story a bunch of times, but only recently I've discovered a new perspective. The first time I went to the unit, the dialysis unit, I actually went in the bathroom and threw up. And
Okay.
I thought it was at the time, I thought it was a reaction to the smells and just the blood. And there's a very certain, if you've ever been in a dialysis unit, there's a certain smell that a dialysis unit has. It's blood, it's acid. It's a very distinctive smell. It was actually a panic attack. Uh,
Oh.
Looking back on it, because it wasn't the first time I'd been in the bathroom throwing up with my chest pounding since. But
Oh, okay.
I thought it was but really it was a panic attack. And then I worked in dialysis for 15 years. So
So the panic attack should have been the red flag.
correct, correct.
But
But
you're
instead,
like, "No, I'm just having a bad
no.
day.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
must have been
Instead
the
it was
Thai food last night."
yes, it was an escalation of commitment. Again, true Sasser style. This isn't working out. Let's do more of it. Let's push
Yeah.
through. Let's
So what
yeah,
kept you you know that you're experiencing panic. You know,
yeah,
like, there's things, but
yeah.
what kept you driving for 15 years?
I think, there's a we were saying, like, you never really question yourself or think about yourself. There I was very absorbed in everybody else, I'll say that. And I didn't have a belief that I could get better, that life could get better, that I would ever really be happy, that I would ever really be loved, that I would ever really be fulfilled. Like, just part of my mind had not developed to even put those things on the table. Like, that was for other people, right? Other people had dreams, other people could find fulfilling relationships, or and then once you're doing a thing, there's like that escalation of commitment, right? Now I've been 5 years into it, 10 years into it. I get a hit of validation, right? Because I'm good at my job. I worked my way up. And so now it becomes this thing of like, well, this is what I do. If I step away from this career, I really have like nothing, because this is what I have. I have this career in kidney, and you meet wonderful people, and before you know it, time just passed. When I was always
Yeah.
kind of like working toward the next thing, but never really opening up my mind that there was room for more, really.
Yeah. So, how I see that is it became your identity, and
Yeah, very much.
without that identity, and you didn't use this word, but I'm gonna throw it in there, there was fear, there was
Yeah.
uncertainty, so this identity and this, if you will, comfort kept you moving forward. That's how my mind sort of logically understands that.
Yeah.
And you were essentially trapped by these things that they call the golden handcuffs,
Yeah.
right? The pay raises, the job titles, the impact, the influence that you've had
Yes.
working in an organization or in an industry for 15 years. You become a known person and become reputable and credible. And the thought of losing all that can be scary.
Yes. Yes. My LinkedIn title for like 10 years was kidney nerd. Like, I was just thinking like that was it, right? And then to think back, all of this started with me having a panic attack at a dialysis unit 15 years ago. But here I am, dug into it. And it was fear. If I lost this career, this was the only thing I had where I felt like I mattered, and that I was, like, right. I got a pat on the back, and, I got good money, and without that, I don't know. I didn't know who I was. I didn't really feel like I was a winner in any other way in life. I didn't really like
Yeah.
myself. I wasn't myself. I have a couple of divorces under my belt. So, you kind of, I clung to it, right? And if you lose that, well, shit, I'm really up shit's creek, right?
Yeah. No, I can relate
Yeah.
to that, and I think a lot of folks can relate to that. I relate to it from the military aspect. I
Mm,
grew up in the military, spent 22 years in the Marine Corps, and then when you go to retire, like, all of that identity is now gone. The military, and I don't mean this in a negative way, but it is kinda negative, I guess. Once you retire, you're not a number anymore in that system. They don't care about you. They don't need you, and you kind of fall to the wayside, and you can see, like, suicide rates increase, divorce rates increase, and a lot of it goes back to everything you're just saying is, I've lost the only thing that I can identify for X amount of years, and now this thing is gone. Who the hell am I? And I don't know how to continue. So it's beautiful to hear and to know a little bit about you that you were able to get out of that,
mm.
but not I don't even wanna say redefine yourself, Sass, because you already knew who you were. Maybe we say something like, you didn't redefine yourself, you started living as you once you got out of this industry. I'm curious to know about some of the story and some of the experiences that led you to that that awakening.
Yeah. Well, like a lot of people, I didn't choose it. I probably would have, stayed in that
But are
career
you happy though?
that it chose me. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I don't believe you have to necessarily blow up your life to change it, but I kind of did, right? Like, and the universe did it for me, right? I was gifted wonderful opportunities where I lost it. And so it actually happened in two phases. The first time was I'd been in the career and I had worked my way up, and I was managing federal contracts for a CMS. And so, again, took a lot of pride. We were the only contract that was doing this work. I was executive director, like a lot of pride, especially coming as like just a dietitian and working my way up. And I left there to go to a startup, and very excited. I finally got my big VP. I'm a, right, like I finally made it. I'm a hot shot. I put so much energy and identity into finally making it, and I think in a way, right, to prove everyone, to show everyone I can do it too. I'm as smart as my brother. I mean, spoiler alert, my parents still weren't impressed or right, like still didn't buy me unconditional love. Love you guys, but let's be real. And so I was working at a startup, and I got laid off from the startup, which isn't too surprising, right? They had a bunch of people. We started a lot of programs. And so I got laid off. And that, it happens all the time. And I'll be personal too, because I got to be real because we're going off scripts here.
Let's do it. Let's get real.
I got divorced during COVID. That was my COVID casualty. And so we slept during COVID, and I maybe had one relationship after that that was healthy and was a lovely relationship. We parted ways. But then after that, I had gotten into a situationship, if you know what that means, right? Like I
Tell
knew
me
from the
more.
it was just toxic. The very first time we met, I was like, I don't think this is going to work out. And we are
Uh,
not the same people. And, he talked, and before you know it, it was the same old pattern of push and pull. And, you know, and it messed me up because I thought after all these years, here I am in my 40s, still chasing just one man to validate me and to make my life worthwhile. And so so right before Christmas, I got a text from him saying, or he called, I got a text and a call saying, hey, you know, this isn't working out. Uh, 2 weeks later, I got a call. He said, I hate to tell you this isn't working out. 2 weeks later, after Christmas, I returned to work holidays. I'm like totally bummed because I realized that now this has been a pattern in my life. And my boss gets on the Zoom call and says, I hate to say this, but it's not working out. I was like, the exact same phrase 3 weeks apart. And those two things, right? This idea of, my life goal of, and listen, I'm a Gen X kid. So we were kind of told that like, get a good job, buy a house, get married, have a kid, work 40 years, retire, right? That's the plan.
oh,
Don't fuck it up,
the
right?
American scream.
Yeah. Don't, just do that, right? Just lock in like everybody else and do that. And so, between realizing that I spent my entire life chasing one relationship, not with myself, but with a dude, and then, putting my whole identity into this career and losing those two things back to back was enough that it like, it was enough of a shock to the system, and I had 3 months severance. That was the real beauty in all of this. I had 3 months severance. I knew I could kinda go back to my old job, and so for the first time in my life, I took those 3 months and I actually got out of, like, survival mode, right? I actually slowed down. I did a shit ton of hot yoga and meditation. Right? I went to my support group meetings again. I really got real that I could not keep living this way. Like, this was just, and I'm a mom, right? And so I have a little girl, and so she looks a lot like me. And so, that's an easy one to see her and to see myself in her and what I want for her and what I want for myself. And it was really just my big wake up call. And I was like, I am going to hang in the saddle this time, right? There are other times where I have had a transformation, but I hit that ejector button. I didn't go all the way, right? I didn't actually get to the fear. I didn't actually get to my deeper held beliefs. I didn't actually get to surrendering my control, of my life. And those 3 months was really the first time, and, it was hard work and it was a lot of tears, but that was really the beginning of a whole new life for me, with those 3 months.
Yeah, you said a couple things in there that I wrote down because I found
Yeah,
intriguing.
okay.
Um, One, I'm gonna go back a little ways here. You said something along the lines, I'm just looking for one man to validate me and give me that life. Is that still a thought in your head? Looking for a person to validate you?
No, it's not actually.
Tell me
It's
more
been
about
3
that then.
years, so,
Yeah,
I'm battle tested this, but no, I don't think that is.
yeah. And you're probably like, okay, why did he hold on to that? Because I
Yeah,
think
tell
that's
me.
that question or that statement is pretty significant.
Mm,
When we turn our attention externally to get our own internal validation is when we get set up for disappointment. At least that's how I understand it, and that's how I feel about it. So that statement right there, like, made me think, like, man, I hope she's still not looking for. I mean, yes, I hope you're looking for love and a companion, like those type of things. But I hope it's not for that validation because the only person that you need validation from is you, right? And
yeah.
and that kind of leads me to the next one is like you said something about releasing control of my life. What does that mean to you?
Mm. I remember the moment, right? Gosh, I'm gonna cry on this thing, I'm just telling you because I can
I'm gonna cry with you. Don't worry about
fair
it.
warning, I
I
find
just
that.
the good thing about being the host and crying is I don't have to talk. I could just let the tears kind of well up a little bit and I can just let it kind of go, but
Yeah.
just
Yeah,
be in
I
the
think
moment
it's
and
one
let's
of
do it.
those, you stifle it for so long that it does have a tendency to leak out other times. Yeah, I remember the moment. It was an evening, and, kiddo was with dad and I was home alone, and, I was still in my house, and, I always thought of myself, right, as a fighter, and I was very proud, right? Like, I was a former competitive boxer. I'm a fighter, I'm a warrior, like, and I don't know if you think that women think like that, but I totally did, right? Like, I was, Wonder Woman, Rocky, all of it wrapped up in one all the time. And uh I remember I don't know why I was walking from, like, my bedroom into the kitchen, and I was just like I give up, right? Like, in a good way, right? Like, I just surrender, right? The queen steps down, like, I can't I can't be in charge of this because it hasn't been working. And that's after, years and years, right, of therapy and support groups and whatever, but sometimes you do hit that one moment where you're like, I surrender. I give up in the best possible way. I can't manage this. This isn't mine. I can't do this like this anymore. And you know, and that's not a loss. That doesn't mean that I'm not a warrior or I'm not a fighter or that I'm not resilient, but it's an acknowledgement that I was never really able to do before. I thought that was a weakness, right? A weakness that I couldn't control, a weakness that I couldn't push through, a weakness that I couldn't force my will upon my situation. And suddenly it didn't seem that way at all. It felt like, in fact, it was the only way to live, was to, do what I could every day and be the best person. And then the rest is not up to me.
Yeah. No, thanks
Yeah.
for sharing that. And it's such a hard concept to grasp and to live by. And that's the sense of letting go
Mm,
of control. And probably one of my favorite topics to talk about is like things we control, things we don't control. Uh, and it's probably because that's probably what I suffer with the most, and I think probably a lot of people suffer with is I can control everything around me. And we realize at the end of the day, we don't control that. And I think it's, the spiritual look on this is the moment you realize that and let go of all those things, that's when divine intervention happens. Like we see the most when our eyes are closed, type thing.
Uh,
And we
yeah.
find what we're looking for when we stop looking.
Mm,
And I think
yes.
that's a kind of a great sort of story of what you're saying is that you hit that wall and finally said, you know what, I'm done. And it wasn't giving up on yourself, it wasn't giving up on life, it was giving up on the fact that all this other external bullshit you have no control over. And let's face it, the way I see this, Sass, is that you and I are talking today because of all the shit that you couldn't control,
Yeah.
right? And that's the beauty
Exactly.
of it. All the
Yeah.
stuff that you couldn't control that you try to control led you to this moment in time that we're able to have this conversation. And that's
Yes.
the beauty of letting go and just going with
Yes.
it. And letting go doesn't necessarily mean I'm not going to plan, I'm not going to think about the future because you still have to be smart in those areas. But letting go of control is I'm going to take one step each day and get as far as I can in the right direction, knowing that I'm going to go back a couple more steps. But
Mhm.
that's all you can control.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
thank you for sharing that,
Yeah.
and thank you for sharing some of the backstory there, and kind of reliving some of those emotions because all of those things set you up for what you're doing now.
Yeah.
And that's how I want to spend sort of the next half of this conversation is the beautiful things that you're doing now, because the foundation of who you are as Sarah Eve or Sass, the younger version, and now you're living that Sass version again, and
Yeah.
you're doing all of these positive things, pun intended, and you're living for you
Yeah.
in the service of others. So
Yeah.
tell me about what's going on in your life now.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'll give you the bridge though, Josh. So,
Give me the bridge.
the year after the 3-month severance and I had that, then my house flooded, later that year. So, order of
Okay.
events, I got laid off, my house flooded. I remediated, I lost a lot, it was very traumatic. Um, and from that was born Practice Your Positive. And before I could get it off the ground, um my home flooded again, but this time we lost everything. So 4 feet of water in the house is unlivable. About 6 months after that I get laid off again. So 2 years in a row I both got laid off from my kidney care job and I lost my house 2 years in a row. That was enough for me to really buckle in to
Yeah.
my new mission in life, right? Because there's no going back. The job is gone. The new administration closed the federal contract, so I didn't just get laid off, like they terminated it, and my home
Mm.
is condemned. So there is no going back. So, the universe, right? I'm glad that I made the decision to let go before God, the universe, divine took things from me because I'll be honest, it was easier to live into that. I'm not saying it was an easy experience, but I knew I wasn't in control and I was glad I had made that decision to let go before these
Mm.
things happened because I think
Yeah.
if I had still tried to cling so tightly to my old identity, to my old home, to all of that, I'd be in a lot worse space and I wouldn't be doing right. We wouldn't be here and I wouldn't be hosting a positivity party on Saturday and I wouldn't be hosting a kids
Woo.
positivity party next month and right, I wouldn't be doing all the cool things and helping so many people in a new and unique way if I didn't let go of the old identity that was really never me anyway.
Oh, I got I got goosebumps when you said that
Yeah.
because how you finished that was where my mind went. That was a higher power, whatever higher power you believe in, literally saying, Sarah, I'm going to remove all of this from you. I'm going to remove everything, your relationships, your job, your 2 homes through natural disasters. And I'm going to make you start over because I believe in you and you believe in you. But I'm going to remove all of this external crap that is
Mm,
literally
yep.
baggage holding like space in your brain and in
Yes.
your in emotions. And they took that from you. It took that from you, whatever that is. And it says, now go forward.
Yes. Yes, and I'm glad that I'd hung in the saddle so that I can execute on that mission that was handed to me, right? And so, from that, what I realized that got me through the flood the first time, in part because I had lost the job, those that 3-month reset, right? You're a fitness guy, yes?
Yeah, yeah, I dabble.
Dabble, lifelong gym rat. Both had a
uh,
protein shake before the
I try
podcast.
not. I'm trying to extend my life a little bit. I don't know. 84 seems to be like a good number, but I had mentioned 107 on another podcast, so I think that's my goal now.
Been
Uh,
saying 114 for like 20 years. So
uh,
reunion in our hundreds then, Josh.
let's do it. God forbid where technology is that day. Who
Oh my God,
knows?
holographic.
Yeah.
Uh, so that was what got me through the flood the first time and subsequently the second time, was that I had practiced positivity before I needed it. And so in the months before, again, another gift from HP or from the divine, right? In the months before I had lost the house, you know, after the job, was that I really got back to doing the things, right? We talk about taking those daily actions every day. We're all practicing something. In the past, I practiced negativity and criticism and judgment and, right, looking at my external world. And I realized that I had gotten through the flood because in the months leading up to it, I had practiced being positive in a very big picture plan. I think a lot of us think about positivity simply as a mindset. And while that's one part of it, I believe positivity is mindset, movement, connection, and expression, right? So there's different levers we can pull. And I had realized that I got through it because I had a bigger picture plan for my positivity that held me up. Then so when terrible things happen, because we know, right, a storm's going to happen in everyone's life, literal or figuratively, right? Like I had practiced it and I was really good at practice. Being a fitness girly, I was good at it. I love, right? I love training for a fight as much as I love the 10 minutes being in the ring. I love, every yoga session, right? I've probably done tens of thousands of sun salutations in my life, and I still love everyone, right? I'm still in the moment for everyone. And couldn't I bring that same idea of practice into my positivity, into my outlook, into my connection with other people? I started having, giving myself little challenges, right? When I go out, compliment 3 people today, right? Walk without my earbuds, say my truth, even if it's awkward. And I started giving myself these little kind of gamified reps of positivity. And it worked, right? It worked for me. And it was fun. It was fun in a kind of challenging way, just like a tough workout might be fun or learning a new skill might be fun. And so that's what I base practice your positive and then team positive on.
Hey, what's up? Just a quick break to remind you that Off Script isn't just about my stories and my experiences. Off Script is meant to be a community, so it's about your stories and experiences as well. I would love for you to be a part of the Listeners Off Script series, Stories from the Stage, a series featuring people like you. So if you have a story about what it means to lead off script, or perhaps a story where you have led within the script for so long that you're fed up and that you're exhausted, please email me at joshua@offscript.us. That's JOSHUA at offscript.us for a chance to be featured on an upcoming episode. Now, let's get back to it. Yeah, talk to me a little bit more about, like, what does that mean to you? Like, give me some practical things. I know you gave me a little
Yeah.
snippet, but
Yeah.
talk me through a Sass day of practicing positivity. And I wrote down saying my truth. I really want to know more about that one.
Okay.
Um, but talk to me about your day and like how do you stay engaged with that positivity? Because I know it's probably easy to drift the other way.
Yeah, it is. And that's where thinking of, practice as a discipline, right? It's not just positivity is a muscle, not a mood. You don't just stumble upon it, right? It's rare that you have a 70, it's 78 degrees out, everything was perfect, you have nothing to complain about. Because I don't know about you, but I've been on vacation, beautiful places, and still been a snarky bee. I mean,
Oh,
I
yeah.
have, right?
Yeah.
I've
Well, I'm a
still been
snarky A, but
complaining.
whatever.
Yeah, right? Like, actually, I could do this anywhere. I could do this in paradise if I want to be, right?
Oh, yep.
So,
Guilty.
yeah, of course. And so, so today, positivity practice, a day in the life of Sasser, starts up, I wake up and I don't hop on my computer. I don't hop on the laptop, even though, as an entrepreneur, the first thing I want to do is just dig in there and like get at it. I start my day, with gratitude, with quiet moments, with journaling, with time on the porch. I wake up earlier if I have to, right? Days I have kiddo. It's starting my day with intention. And it does not be a big elaborate practice. Some days it is. Some days it's just a couple of stretches and, a thank God I'm alive today. And then for me, a lot of it is connection nowadays. I found that, especially as I've aged and especially with our modern digital world, I find, interpersonal connection a huge piece of what keeps me going and keeps me feeling positive, even when I think the world's on fire and, we're all doomed. And so that's being present with myself, right? I used to zone out a lot, I guess disassociate. I'm pretty good at not doing that anymore. Staying in the saddle for those moments, talking to the cashier, staying present, right, with my daughter, saying the things that I wish maybe were said to me, or just being honest with her when I goof up, or I'm not in the moment with her. Um, Leaning more on lifting others up instead of criticizing. I had a bad habit of criticizing everybody, whether you knew it or not. In my
Mm.
head, I was thinking, he really should. She'd be great if, for everything from like fashion advice to your profession to your relationships, like I was all up in your business,
Yeah.
even if I never said a word to you.
Yeah.
And I don't do that anymore. I have enough. It takes enough just to keep Sasser online these days, right? Like if I really just take care of myself, that's a full-time job,
Mm.
just keeping myself straight. Um, Certainly movement, right? Exercise is a huge piece of how I practice my positive and how I keep myself, upright and happy. And
Yeah.
then expression. And that's been one of the most beautiful things of being an entrepreneur in this new journey with Team Positive and Practice Your Positive is, I never did social media, in part, again, because I thought nobody would like me, or I
Wow.
don't know, like why would anyone care, right? I'm not interesting. I'm nobody special. And I think that's one of the beautiful things is when, as I've truly gotten out of my own head, I care a lot less about what people think of me because I'm focused on, myself in a healthy way, and I'm focused on being of service to others in a healthy way, as
Mhm.
opposed to just kind of, picking you apart and giving you unsolicited, although brilliant advice on how you should live your life. I say
Unsolicited,
that.
although brilliant.
Oh, brilliant. It used to be, I know. Nobody ever took it, but I thought it was brilliant. But being in service of
Uh,
others, and that's really allowed me to have goals and dreams in a way that I never really had before. And it's been, in that way I do feel childlike. I do feel back almost like a kid some days. I get to wake up and do these things for real, right? It's a very exciting way to live.
Beautiful. I'm gonna mention a book on here, and if this
Yeah.
author ever listens to this podcast, I better get something because I think I mentioned this book like almost every episode. But it's David Brooks' Second Mountain, and
Tell
it's
us
a
more.
beautiful book because it just talks about these two mountains that we live in our life. First mountain, very simple, ego driven, materialistic. I want the job, I want the promotion, I want the fancy car, I want all these things. It's ego driven, it's in service of self. And then we get to this point in life when we realize that's not the important things. And the important things is everything you just said here is living in the service of others. And when you live in the service of others, that's when we find our true joy, our true peace, our true happiness, our fulfillment. And that's essentially kind of where you are, where I am, and where some of my other guests are. It's just we're starting to realize that life isn't about me, it's about service of others. But through that, I benefit mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically.
Mhm.
Right. And a quote that I say literally probably on every episode too, it's if you light the path of others, your too shall be lit. And it goes into this service mindset. And that's exactly what what you're doing. And it took so many trials and tribulations, obstacles, like rock bottoms
Yeah.
to get to this moment of clarity.
Yeah. Yeah.
So with this moment of clarity, I want you to talk about Team Positive for a little bit.
Team positive.
Tell me what your mission
Oh,
is, what your vision is. Like
oh,
it doesn't have to be the website one, but just tell me what Sass is. Like what's her
oh,
goal?
girl. Yeah. So I started Practice Your Positive, and with this idea that, right, like you're an individual player and positivity is a team sport, and it kind of just I plugged along. Then it was actually Team Positive was just born in March. We're August now, so it's only Team Positive, still a baby, as I often say.
Okay.
She's a baby. She needs a lot of attention right now. And what I realized was that, again, it's this connection, right? It's this bigger picture. And so I was at a vision board party at a local
Okay.
community. It's a random story, but it'll come full circle. So I went to a vision board meetup at a kombucha brewery, a kombucha bar, and on it, I said I wanted to host events. Like, I don't know, I had, again, no plan. This is where when you let go, and I ended up talking to the woman that was there, and she was like, "Oh, you should just host event. You should host an event here." I was like, okay. And she's like, "Well, how about March?" I was like, "Okay." Again, no plan, never hosted a party, never promoted an event, nothing. Just like, okay, I guess I'll just do that.
Strap the boots up and figure it out. Or in your case, strap on the gloves and figure it
Right?
out.
Yeah. And one of those times too where you're like, I know enough now, right? Like when you've been through this rodeo a couple of times, you're like, I know that when something lands in my lap in such a way that this is something worth pursuing. So with that, I hosted an event, and it was a positivity party. And I saw in that moment how people came together, and really this connection outside of ourselves that is missing for a lot of people now. And after that event, I thought, well, geez, what if we did this, right? There's a lot of personal development, there's a lot of growth out there. What if we made this more like a team sport? What if we made this something where you felt like you were part of something bigger, and we were all, right? We were all working toward the same goals. Although we're individual players, we're on a team. And so I came up with Team Positive, and rain or shine, I play for Team Positive, which is, I live in St. Pete, Florida. So, rain or shine is like, it is either beautiful or a hurricane will destroy your ass.
Hurricane.
Yeah, one or the other. Like, we live in extremes.
Hence the house flooding twice.
Correct. Yes. Yes. I
That
love
not to
St.
go
Pete.
backwards, but that
Yeah.
flooding happened from the two massive hurricanes that hit that region over the past 2 years ago now. Is that what it was?
23 was Adalia, 24 was
Yeah.
Helene and Milton.
Yeah. So you
Yeah,
got
Helene
power
and
to that.
Milton in 24 was wicked, right?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's rain or
Yeah.
shine. Like you said, it's
Rain or
mostly
shine.
sunny, and then when it's rain, it is rain. Kind of like a
Yeah.
good metaphor for life.
Yeah, right. But so this team positive idea, and it really was one of those things, like, I kind of like to, test these things out, right? Like I try to always stay open. And it got legs quickly. Like people really latched onto this idea of being on a team with other people who are also, right, focusing on the good, especially in a world where, no shit, you look at the news, you look around, like it's at least easy for me to get discouraged, or lose hope, or feel like, I don't know where we're headed, climate change, political upheaval, social issues, and so this idea of team positive, and through that, really, it kind of shifted. I was focused, again, it's funny how I was focused on like being a speaker, and like, really standing on stage and telling my story of losing my house in this flood and resiliency and all this. And it really turned into much more of my business, and much more of where I, spend my time creating and in service of others, is building events for people, bringing people together, at unique events where, it's personal development, but just feels like fun. And so it's this idea of kind of playing on team positive. And with that, I've spun off a kids division now. And so we're having our first kids positivity party, because boy, how did the kids need it too? you know?
And they're
Um,
obviously still in their formative years, still very impressionable. So I think something like that for kids is phenomenal. And like, how do we teach kids like emotional intelligence at that young age? Like
yeah,
some, just like leadership, some
yeah,
have a greater ability when they're like this innate ability. Some have to be taught a little differently. But imagine like how do we integrate emotional intelligence? How do we integrate this
yeah,
positivity? How do we integrate connection to each other, regardless of beliefs, values, gender, color, religion, etc. Right? So
yes,
beautiful.
yes,
Talk me through a positive party or this event,
yeah.
or I think you're calling it the game
The
now. Is that what it
game, yeah.
is?
So the adult version is the game.
Talk.
Uh,
What is
yeah.
what does a game
Okay.
session look like?
Okay. Here we
L-
go. You want the
Let's
full picture?
tell me a
Okay.
picture and tell the audience a picture. Let's do this.
Okay. So you got an invitation to something called the game, right? You got an invitation. You get some secret instructions the night before about, bringing, a couple of things to bring, wear a certain color to wear. You get some secret instructions. So all of this is like a little bit mysterious. You don't quite know what to expect, but it seems kind of cool. And, a lot of cool people are going. And so you'll show up at a
I like it
kombucha
already,
brewery.
though.
Yeah, right.
I like it already. Yeah.
Positivity players lock in. Um, and so all of my events are sober aligned. So I typically hold them at. This is a reminder. I'm gonna wait because my Alexa's going off. This is a reminder. Alexa, stop.
Technology.
So all of my events are sober aligned, and that's actually a big draw for my crowd is whether they're sober curious or full-time sober or in recovery, just to have a space where you're not relying on a buzz. And let's be honest, if you have to get drunk to enjoy yourself, like why are you there?
I love
Right?
it.
Like the kind of if you don't enjoy these people's company, like if I have to get drunk to hang out with you guys, then why are we hanging out, honestly? And so it's sober aligned. So I do it at a kombucha brewery that has like an indoor outdoor space, and you show up and you get a name tag because we need name tags. And there's two warm up activities. Typically, there's a gratitude jar. So we have the big jar, and by the end of the night, we try to fill the jars with little slips of paper. And you're going to drop in just a couple of things, little warm up. Drop a couple of things you're grateful for. You're going to get a name tag and put a vibe dot on it. We like to have, a little bit of a feeling for how you're feeling tonight. So we can all, you give people a little clue. And then, grab a kombucha. There'll be a band playing. There's a food truck. It's a party, right? Enjoy yourself. It's a party. And then about 6:15 is kickoff. Sasser will get up on stage and we'll hand out scorecards. So you get released from the garden to like the full experience, and you'll get a scorecard that gets passed out. And on the scorecard, you realize that all the tables have different numbers and activities on them, and you have a
Mhm.
scorecard. And your job now is to try and see how many points, positivity points, you can get before the night is over at these different stations. Meanwhile, everyone's, goofing and having a good time. So there's 4 stations: mindset, movement, expression, connection. There's also wild card and a penalty box.
Mm.
So everything is gamified. So that's and when your question is like, well, how do we get kids? How do we get people to do this? Girl, everybody loves a game,
Everybody
right? Once it's
loves a game.
once it's a little bit of a competition, once it's a little bit, I get points for this. And I thought, I'll be honest, the first time, I held a couple of them until I went with my full vision for the scorecard. And I wasn't sure if people were going to play.
Mhm.
Like it was a little bit of a social experiment. Like if I do this and they give people a scorecard, like, are they going to just like mill around and like look at it? Total opposite. As soon as people got a scorecard, everyone was like,
Yeah.
they just scattered, right? And
I
so
don't
then the
care if
idea,
you say you're a competitive person or not. You get a
no,
scorecard in your hand, you're a competitive person.
yes,
I
yes,
don't care who you are and what you say. "Oh, I'm not competitive." Like, I just wanna play no, bullshit. You're competitive, give the
yes.
scorecard, I wanna win.
Yes, yes. And so for each station, there's escalating positivity points. And so there might be something very easy that says for let's say for connection, collect 10 high fives. So throughout the night, you got to collect 10 high fives. Okay, right? And we know these are all science backed. We know that physical contact, we know that even just me showing my hands, right, makes you feel more
Yeah,
comfortable and more
yeah.
connected, right? We know these things. So
You know,
so
a
maybe that's
couple who, hugs frequently
yes,
increases the longevity of that relationship. I don't know the
yes.
statistics. Don't ask
Uh-huh.
me about relationships. I'm like you, divorced twice, so not a marriage counselor, but apparently those who have physical
Yes.
contact and touching
Yes.
all those dose chemicals run through you. But so high
Yes. So
fives,
high
open
fives,
hands.
hugging, yes. So
Yeah.
that might be one, right? And then maybe for 2 points, it's like text someone right now a text of appreciation. Okay. Okay. So would you take 2 points to text someone that you appreciate them?
I'll do it for free, but all right. Now
But
that I
right,
get points, let's go.
but if it's gonna get you 2 points, I mean, if you got a chance of winning this thing,
Let's go.
right? So, and then say, let's say for, and I have friends, creators in St. Pete who help me out as guides of the game. So I have, so let's say at the movement station, the one for the fall activity that was the most points was 50 air squats while saying positive affirmations out loud.
I mean,
That'll get you a burn and a glow.
yeah, I mean, both of those individually are challenging. Now, when you couple those together, I don't know who's doing 50 air squats. Like any normal average person do 50 air squats, your legs are going to be mush.
Burning. Well, I will tell you, I had a pregnant woman there doing them. But then you know what happens? People do it together. They make a circle, right? Instant. So I'm playing with kind of teams for the next one and maybe more cooperative game. There's different variations in it. And then I do those on the corporate side. I pull it back so it's maybe not so wackadoo, but I pull them back. And so, but people, right? People find ways. And so then you see people doing it together. And so for each of these stations, there's 5 little challenges that range from unhinged or wackadoodle or fun. There's some that are just roll the dice and do what it says, drink a full glass of water. It doesn't seem like much, but if you're at a party and you're doing all these kind of random fun things, all of these things are good for you and you don't even really know it. It just feels like a little challenge. And so it's kind of like minute to win it, but wellness. And the big one that I'm excited for was at the last party for expression. I had body markers and tattoos, fake tattoos that were all uplifting phrases. So everybody left with, grateful or body markers, right? Express yourself, get a little fake
Look at
tattoo.
that
There you
tattoo
go.
there. My body mark, my real body
That's,
markers.
yeah. Yeah. And that's not everyone's comfortable with that. So we start with the fake ones. But at the October one, actually a tattoo friend of mine is going to be there and we're going to have a flash tattoo station
I'll be there.
for real tattoos, right? So with each game, I kind of level it up. But yeah, and so then I have guides, I have friends, and so I have a buddy, Get Psyched Fitness, who was there for the movement one, so he was kind of like a coach there, helping people along, and so it ends up this time where all of these things might seem like hokey or like, yeah, you do them. But when you put people together and no one's touching their phones and you're doing all these things, right? We have a big let it go box. Write something you want to let it go and, like drop it in the box. Like all these little things that really, really get people thinking. And then, attached to all of them is this little like, take it home with you, right? Take this idea home with you. You don't need to wear a name tag, but when you go out, introduce yourself to people, right? Think about, you don't need a let go box and a positivity party, but take something you want to let go of and write it down and tear it up, right? Like little practices that you can take home so we can see that positivity isn't this kind of all or none, I'm a positive person, everything's great, meanwhile, like your life is terrible. No, positivity is small, daily, intentional actions. And hey, let's make them a little bit fun, a little gamified. Let's do them with people together. And before you know it, like, it just started taking off, right? And so the community grew, and then I would go this place, and then I went to a party, and then people from my party were together, and then I went to see the band that played at my party, and there were people from the positivity party, and before you know it, you make this little connected web where everyone then is kind of in it together. And if I'm having a hard day, if you're having a hard day, I know you and me are both on team positive, and like, listen, Josh, like, hey, team positive, did you drink water today? Did you take a walk? Did you talk to somebody? Did you doodle, right? Like, did you do
Yeah.
something? Did you take an action? Because it's not just this, hey, I'm a positive person or not. It's these little actions.
No, I love it.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely intrigued. And as
Okay.
you know, I'm only 2 hours from you.
I
So
know. I
so that's a
know.
hop, skip, and a jump. Tell
Yeah.
me how I
Yeah.
can be a part of one of these games or positivity parties.
Yeah. So until we sweep the nation, which is, long-term plan here, until it comes to a city by you. So, right, they're currently in St. Pete. Um, you know, they're well, right. Everyone's welcome. Grab a ticket. It's on me just for a head count, so I know how many fireworks and spaghetti pieces and body art I need to buy. Because I buy some weird ass props for these things. And, everyone's welcome to join. And I like to explore doing some virtually. It's not going to be quite the same, but I would like to explore, how to do some virtually. Again, for this idea of, a boost, a connection, and, just making it fun. Personal development is, it's always very intense and serious. And I'm an intense person, but more than that, I'm kind of a giant goofball. And so, this is for folks who sometimes want to take the personal development a little bit lighter, right? Like let's have a little fun while we're doing this.
This is
You
for the
know?
folks who want to go off script. I mean, that's
Yeah.
Sass. I
Yeah.
mean, that's exactly what you're doing. You're taking this human connection, you're taking leadership development, you're taking all these things, and you're bringing them into this unique vision of being
Yeah.
different. And people
Yeah.
gravitate to that. We talked about at the beginning, like
Yeah.
juiciness. This
Yeah.
is juicy. This is fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where do I buy the ticket? Where, like, do you have a
Yeah.
website? Do you
Yeah,
have
yeah, sure, for all of that. So
social?
yeah, you can I have a landing page for more on the game, which I can share the show notes. Tickets are on Eventbrite or through my Stripe account. You can always hit me up. I also do these for businesses. I do them B2B for sales kickoffs and for, retreats and things like that. And I also do them for fundraisers for nonprofits, right? I'll set up the games, use as a fundraiser night. And so, totally bespoke parties. I have a big portfolio of activities by now. And so if folks, if you're like, oh, we want to build trust or we have a lot of burnout, I can put together a menu of activities
A
that
little
speaks
a
to
la
those needs.
carte, huh?
Yeah, a little a la carte. It's all bespoke here. And so, yeah, so I'll drop it in. You can go to practiceyourpositive.com and the game will show you kind of some snippets and some video from there. And I have a big vision for this. And I'm really excited for the kids' positivity party. That one's coming
No,
up
so am
too. And
I.
yeah, that's a good one. And all of it approved by my 8-year-old. Cause if it's not fun, she doesn't want it. She doesn't like serious mom. She likes fun mom.
The best
So
testing and proving ground right there, because they're gonna tell you straight up, "This is stupid, mom."
girl, I never have to worry about my
Uh,
ego. If you have a kiddo, they do not care. She just tells me as it is. Yeah.
yeah,
I
yeah.
love
So, no,
it.
that's great. So that's practiceyourpositive.com, you said, right? Or
Practiceyourpositive.com. Yep.
or your Stripe accounts
Yep. Teen
and
positive,
all
one of
that
the
information.
yes.
Sass is gonna share with me. It's gonna be in the
Yes.
show notes, but
Yes.
please take the opportunity to go off script with Sass and her
Yeah.
positive parties, because I will promise you, I will be at an event.
You better. I love it. I love it.
And
Tickets
you
on
said the
me.
October one was going to be a little different, or
October
would you say?
October 17th, that's the full game.
Okay,
Tattooist,
the
massage,
tattooist.
chiropractor. Yes.
Yes. So
Yes, we
October
do
17th. I need to put this
October
down.
17th, it's a Saturday, yes.
Listen, anybody
Yeah,
listening to this podcast, if you're national, international, and you want to go to St. Pete, it's a beautiful area. This is a great time to catch it, because October in South
yeah,
Florida is probably the best weather. I mean, maybe if you get avoid the hurricanes, but
yeah,
it's beautiful. The temperature's not too humid. Go down to St. Pete, hang out with Team Positive, and just get to
yeah,
know people and drink some, what I'm imagining, some damn good kombucha. Good
yeah.
probiotics for the gut. It's good for you.
Yes, yes, and all the ingredients, grown on site too, very sustainable,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
community, yeah, community focus. Yeah,
We'll
it's been real
definitely be in
fun.
touch. I will be at an event,
You'll be
October
one? Oh,
17th.
good, I love that.
Absolutely. And hopefully some
Yeah,
off scripters will be there too. And
yeah,
yeah. Ask, I got a couple more things for you. And
yeah.
what is something that I didn't ask you that you wish I would have asked you?
Ooh, what is something that you didn't ask me that you wish I
What
would've?
should I
I
have
wish
asked you?
what should you have asked me? It's funny. I would say probably that before, if you'd asked me that question, I would have wanted a chance to maybe brag on some of my accomplishments, but that's really not so much my speed anymore. I don't know. I think you hit it. I think you hit it. I do like to talk about my daughter, so if I can give a quick shout out to my sugar pop Freddie. She listens to these. I
Okay.
got my own MCA tattoo for her a couple years
Nice.
ago. Yeah, I maybe a little bit about being a mom or about, I think we talked before about maybe like, being a woman and how sometimes that being a woman or a mom and how that can kind of affect how you show up or what you feel like you have to show up as.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's a great question. Tell me a little bit
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah.
Being a woman, showing up, being a mom. The question that I initially wanted to ask after you said your daughter is, which I'm going to
Yeah.
ask anyways, but I do want you to
Okay.
highlight some of the challenges that you just mentioned, because I think it's a beautiful question. What is your daughter's, like, in your opinion, what is her most special trait or quality?
Uh, she's true to herself. She
Mm,
is. She knows who she is. And, sometimes, occasionally I see her hide it, but for her age and for who she is, she knows who she is, and she loves herself, right? She likes herself. And that's real nice to see as a mom, just to see that she thinks of herself as highly. And it's funny, sometimes I'll think that I'm helping. I'll be like, "Oh, do you feel bad about this?" Or, "Do you?" And she'll be like, right, like I'm asking her if, I presume we're going to share the same anxiety about something, and she'll be like, "No, I don't think that at all, mom. I'm good." And I think it's pretty legit. She has a very strong self concept, and uh, you know, I like that, and right, I think I would, most parents would say that, I know my folks said to me growing up, she's gonna have her own ups and downs and her own challenges, and I don't wanna take those away from her because, right, my challenges have been my greatest teachers. Um, but if she can start out in less of a hole than I was, right? If she could not make some of the same mistakes I made or, some of the same challenges, that would make me pretty happy. Yeah.
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 I want you to share with me, if you don't mind, when you were talking about that,
Yeah.
you were experiencing a lot of emotion.
Yeah.
What is that emotion?
Um Yeah, I think it's I always thought that we talked earlier about like chasing a relationship, right? A romantic relationship, and that would heal my heart.
Mhm.
And it's actually being a mom, that love, that you know like our relationship, my bond, and in part because, we've been homeless twice and, we've been through it. Like we've talked about like, mom dying, like we've talked, we were hunkering down for Milton, right? We've had those conversations. And, I think the unconditional love that I feel for her, I see in her that I'm able to share like that really just broke my whole heart open. And like you, if I did nothing else, if I was a waitress the rest of my life and we lived in this apartment forever, like it would have been enough, right? It would have been enough to have that experience, to be a mom, to have that relationship, to experience that love. Like that would have been enough. My life would have been fulfilling as it was. And so, and again, I really never wanted children. I never thought I'd be a mom. It was never in my plans, in part because I was unlucky in love. And, you know, but yeah, it's unconditional love, and it's honestly healed my heart and the love that I can have for myself and the love that I can show for myself, um,
Mhm.
by experiencing the love that she and I share. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm glad that I asked you that question because that opened
Yeah.
up that door. So that's
Thank
why I
you.
like to finish the episodes with that because I know that there's things there that I should ask, but I let the conversation go and I miss the opportunity. So I always ask that question, and that was a very um that was a good moment.
Mhm.
Is there anything
Yeah.
else that you would like to share?
No, that was good. Thanks, Josh.
A little healing for you, a little expression of
Yeah.
emotion. Um,
Yeah.
well, wonderful. So another tradition that I have on the podcast
Okay.
is I like to ask a journal prompt at the end of the
Ooh,
episode. So that pressure is on you.
okay.
What's a good journaling prompt or question for the off script audience to think about and to write about and to explore?
Yeah. Um Yeah, and you gave me a little bit of a warning, and I thought about it, and I think coming from our conversation and what what I shared today and what we experienced, and hopefully what listeners heard, would be a question around what truth are you hiding, right? What
Mm,
where are you? Where have you not been willing to hang in the saddle and stay in that juicy, painful, transformative moment, right? And not I know in my history there have been times where I've been offered the gift of that awareness and you know what? I hit the ejector button. I went back to drinking, I went back to scrolling, I went back to chasing boys, I went back to, right, whatever it was, right, distracting myself, criticizing other people, and I didn't hang in the saddle. And so the question for journal would be, Where have you not hung in the saddle? Or where is that, and where is that truth? You wanna help me maybe clean that up a little bit on my I'm still working
Yeah.
through all this feeling, yeah. Help me
No, no,
out with
no.
that
It's good. It's good to throw it out there, and I think it's what you said initially is what truth are you hiding?
Yeah.
Um, Potentially, what opportunities are you avoiding?
Mm. Mhm.
Maybe
Yeah. Yeah, because one begets the other, right? When I'm on the other side of it, I often use the phrase that, I had a Shawshank moment, right? I crawled through a mile of shit and came out clean,
favorite
you
movie.
know? Yeah, and that one, you think about it, right? But you have to crawl that mile of shit,
Yeah.
you're gonna have to at some point, right? Like, for all of us, and it's a different mile of shit for everybody.
Hmm.
But,
Yeah.
the day that I chose to stick with it and, go through it towards my truth, I came out clean, right? My whole life was never been the same, and, it's only been better.
So that's the beauty of asking that. And yeah, I let you know there's going to be a journaling prompt, but every time it's the same. Like, oh, you warned me, but it's probably going to be a little bit different now because you can't plan. I think the conversation flows and allows us to think of as something different that you initially thought of at the beginning or in preparation. But the way I'm summarizing this now, it's what truth are you hiding, and how is that preventing you from living your fullest life?
That's it.
So, what truth are you hiding, and how is that preventing you from living your fullest life? Is the journal question. Please explore, write it
Mm.
down, buy the off script journal, and explore that. And feel free to share it with me on Joshua at offscript.us. But, Sass, it's been a wonderful conversation. Thank you so much for being vulnerable. Thank you so much for being real and raw and sharing your story. And it's something great that you're doing with Team Positive and these positive parties or the game. And if we look at blue zones, like the number one, I guess, variable that allows folks to live longer and more healthy lives is connection. It's human, it's social, it's tribe. Um, and I think the way you're going about it is the right way. And that's
Mm.
it's it's done with passion to connect. And I believe doing that in that way is going to provide so many blessings for you and your family going forward. So continue to do what you're doing with Team Positive. And I'm serious. I do want to participate, and you and I will be in touch with that. But thank you so much for being a guest with me. Truly
Yeah.
enjoyed it.
Aw, thank you, Josh. It's a great space that you have here to share these things and be off script, and, may there be more spaces like this for
Mm,
everyone.
I love it. So
Yeah.
until we meet again,
Okay.
please continue to do what you do, and that is really what this program is all about, or this podcast is all about, is being off script. So thank you so much for everything. Take care. We'll chat soon. Hey, that's it. That's the episode right there, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you enjoyed it. If something resonated with you, please like, follow, and subscribe on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, and YouTube. Your support helps us reach more authentic leaders. And don't forget to share this message if you know someone who needs it. And lastly, remember, Offscript wants your stories as well, so you can be featured on the Offscript series, Stories from the Stage. Email me at joshua@offscript.us to share what leading Offscript means to you. Thanks for being here. Thanks for listening. And until next time, continue to lead Offscript.